Okay, there you go. So, as Vasilia introduced me, I'm Alberto Palomo. I'm the Chief Data Officer for the Spanish government. Actually, I'll go here. And I'm going to be moderating a panel with various governmental representatives, give the perspective of the governmental view on Gaia-X and the Gaia-X projects. As Vasilia correctly pointed out, Spain and I myself, I'm chairing the Governmental Advisory Board to Gaia-X this first year. And we have three gentlemen, a lady here, but there's also people connected online. But I want to begin with the Secretary of State for Digitalization and AI, who's Ms. Karma Artigas. Besides being my boss, Karma is she's an expert in AI and in data. She's an entrepreneur, and she also has quite a lot of experience in executive positions within several companies in Spain and internationally. She founded in 2006 a startup. She's an entrepreneur, and she founded a startup for data, which in 2015 got recognized as one of the top 15 world leaders in big data. And she herself was elected in 2016 as one of the top 30 executives worldwide for for innovation, and she's also a member of the Data Innovation Network, and since 2013 she's also been a member of the Industry Partners Council at the Data Science Institute at the University of Columbia in New York City. She's now the Secretary of State, as I said, for Digitalization and AI for the Spanish government, and we have her, I believe, live, and she will be talking about the priorities and digitalization priorities of Spain and the role that Gaia-X plays there. Hello, Karma.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate, even though remotely, to this great event. I wish I had been able to join you, and unfortunately, I just can assist in a very brief introduction. I will not be able to stay along the panel, but I'm absolutely well represented with Alberto. And thank you very much for inviting me, also Francesco and Vasilia, on behalf of Gaia-X. So I would like just to share with you our commitment, Spain's commitment to data and AI. As you know, Spain's recovery project is strongly linked to digitalization and the commitment to the data economy as a vector for growth. The European recovery funds are a historic opportunity to direct all the potential of data towards the creation of a more efficient, productive, and resilient production and economic model. In Spain, we will devote almost 30% of the total next generation funds to digitization, an unprecedented investment with the aim of tackling the structural reforms that our country needs. Data and its essential role in the development of disruptive technologies such as artificial intelligence are differentiating factor of this new project for our country, and a key piece for the transformation that will allow us to consolidate a fairer, more inclusive digital economy in line with the SDGs and the 2030 agenda, and to advance in a true data economy with full guarantees for the development of two strategic processes, the digital transformation and the green transition. Data is digital gold, and as such, we must be at the center of our efforts, but also from a societal perspective. This is why a strong data market is crucial if we want Europe to lead the global AI race, but with a different approach, an approach based on the respect of fundamental rights by default. For a long time, we have been confronted with a dichotomy between data protection and data reuse. But we do not have to give up anything. We can ensure data protection and also make use of it for economic and social progress. Europe must unite an industry, this time to lead the digital revolution around data. In this data revolution, the power must lie with organizations and individuals. We want to ensure that individuals and organizations can decide to whom they make the data they produce available, and under what conditions, and whether they want to store it or not on European soil. In the new global order generated by digital technologies, only full digital sovereignty through data will be guaranteed. Digital sovereignty is one of the main objectives pursued by Gaia-X, where much of the EU's digital future is at stake. Gaia-X is a key player in achieving this European digital sovereignty that will allow us to move towards a more democratic digitization. A decisive initiative to generate an environment of data sharing with trust and sovereignty that will allow us to unleash the value of the data economy. Convergence between the different private and public European initiatives is a priority. To this end, it is essential to ensure interoperability between the different European sectorial data spaces from the design stage. And I think here is where Gaia-X is going to become decisive. Spain will support the Convergence Initiative by offering the development of technological pilots, especially everything related to the Gaia-X Trust Framework. And here I want to offer our possibilities from Spain to host one of the first pilots of the Gaia-X Trust Framework. We have an ambition in Spain to put the digital revolution at the service of people and the democratic progress. That is why we have undertaken cross-cutting initiatives such as the Charter of Digital Rights, which guides us in the design and deployment of public policies and legislative actions. In this context, we saw the opportunity to launch secure public-private partnerships on data. And one was the creation of a Spanish Gaia-X Hub in March 2022, a private organization led by the companies themselves with the task of bringing the data economy to all sectors and small businesses in Spain. But we understand that there must be also convergency with institutional initiatives at both European and national levels. And this is why we consider it fundamental when Gaia-X Spain also brings the Spanish ecosystem closer to acquiring funding from the Digital Europe program. In fact, this has been the case for the preparatory actions for the EU data space for tourism, which was won by the DATAS consortium led by a Spanish company from Gaia-X Spain. With this action, we will ensure synergies and, most importantly, the convergency between institutional and private sector initiatives in one single effort. We will do exactly the same with the funding that our national recovery plans has dedicated to building national data spaces interoperable with European ones. We have incorporated about 500 million euros to this objective of creating industrial data hubs. Gaia-X therefore plays a key role in the deployment of a common European data spaces and sovereign data exchange architectures. The tourism data space is a clear and practical example that something can be done to make our tourism smarter, more personalized, and more efficient. To boost the smart development of this key sector for our economy, we will also soon fund a pilot for the Spanish data space for tourism, a project that will help us test use cases in the area of tourism that really have a commercial value. Just to close, just to mention that this is, in summary, the perspective with which Spain faces the challenge of recovering our data sovereignty. A human-centric and democratic perspective in which data belongs to the people who generate it, in which the use of data is always carried out on the basis of data protection, whether industrial or personal. A perspective in which Gaia-X is the place to be, is where the entities access and reuse their data, where there is necessary interoperability in this challenge at the European level, where we think about our collective interests, because together we are stronger. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karma. I know you have to leave, so thank you for these words and showing the support, really the strong support that Spain is providing to Gaia-X and the build of sovereign data spaces and the digital economy. I don't know, Vasilia, if we're having the video first. I talked briefly before about the Governmental Advisory Board. I see Adrian here, who's the French representatives for that Governmental Advisory Board to Gaia-X. But we have various different people on stage, so not everybody from the Governmental Advisory Board could make it, so we recorded a video, the ASBL recorded a video that I believe we're showing. Is that correct? Okay. So it's good.
I think it's a great opportunity to share ideas and best practices, but above all to agree on what the future trusted framework and technologies must be implemented at the European level to share of national data status at European level. And I think this is the most important outcome that we expect to have from this conference.
Among others, Spain is really working rigorously on the development of a European interoperable data space for tourism. So it's interesting because tourism is really a sector and industry where many different aspects and disciplines and domains really come into play. You can really accelerate your insights, your industry insights and business intelligence for tourism if you're able to interrelate different domains, which come from parts that are not typically in the tourist value chain. And so that's where a Gaia-X framework, that's where the trustability of the Gaia-X framework really provides you a way to interconnect and build this interconnected business network that really allows you to obtain the next generation of digitalization of tourism.
I think it can help a lot in achieving a twin transition for a green and digital economy in manufacturing industry, for example. I think the trust framework can give a unique and concrete advantage even for small firms to scale up their offering.
For us, for the German government, Gaia-X is the baseline of the digital economy, the data economy in the next 20, 30 years. And Germany, having a strong industrial basis and having a strong basis in health and chemistry and other things, we think that the ASBL and Gaia-X is of utmost importance for us to be part of that digital economy next 20, 30 years. For us, the Gaia-X framework has one simple message, and this is trust. Trust in digital and data relations. And we want small and medium enterprises, industry giants, and startups to work together in a trustful environment, having secure and trustworthy data relations, and thus we want them to adopt these criteria to want to be part of the Gaia-X endeavor and be part of the larger Gaia-X family all over Europe and the world.
The Netherlands is preparing for multiple data spaces in close collaboration with international partners. Our current focus is on manufacturing, like smart industry, on health, on mobility, and on energy. We will scale up our national initiatives in these sectors and make a cross-sectoral connection between them by using the Gaia-X framework. This will speed up innovation and create new products and services that will benefit us both economically and from a societal perspective.
Actually, our significant industrial interest is primarily to build a data space for smart cities and communities, but also in each other data space within Gaia-X, so that we can get the interoperable infrastructure on the European level. The second one is how to build a community around that data spaces so that we can ensure the harmonized and strong development of communities and also of the interconnection between different communities. I think the first step is to convince or to raise the awareness for Gaia-X, then to connect data spaces to to available infrastructures that are existing, and then to interlink or put the interoperable infrastructures functioning for data spaces at the edge, so where the final recipient or the user can have the benefits from it. This would be the highest leverage for Gaia-X framework.
I believe Gaia-X is now reaching a point where we are about to install our services in many different data spaces, and this is really what we can call the crunch point. In the case of Fireware, what has happened is that a lot of money has been spent to create the open source tools, but basically the funding authority, basically the European Commission, did not take part of how to land that into the various countries. And it has been the responsibility of the Fireware Foundation to help that landing, which is today translating than more, I guess, than 250 operations in various smart cities in the world, which are using Fireware 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I know what I wish to obtain with obviously Francisco and the board, but the way to do it will be definitely different to the one we have had in Fireware. But in my view, this is what we want to achieve in the next 2 years, and that can be measured by the number of data spaces which are using the tools built by Gaia-X.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I want to see the, Vasily, can we get the people who are connected online so that I know it's always a bit challenging when we have people local. And I want to, so really we're going now to the panel where we have these fantastic guests to talk about the, some of the priorities. That seems like an infinite loop. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so we have Tito and we have Nena as well, right? So Nena informed us that she had to leave, so I wanted to start with her. But let me run a quick introduction through some of the people that we have. To my left, I have Ersten Stockel-Puckel, who some of you I probably didn't do a great job at pronouncing your German last name. But he's the head of digitalization of Industry 4.0 within the Department of Industrial Policy at the German Government of Economics and Climate Action. He's responsible for Platform Industry 4.0, which is a very large-sized platform in Germany for the digital transformation of manufacturing. But don't think of it as a platform in the technological sense, because it's a lot more than that. It's really a platform for relevant stakeholders, to really discuss and address some of the key aspects of, industrialization going forward in 4.0, including, academia, political aspects, trade unions, and it's one of the seats originally of what now is known as Gaia-X, as the ideas behind Gaia-X. And in fact, if I'm not mistaken, you're also involved in the important project of common European interest for the cloud infrastructure and services. So there's a very strong connection. Following that, we have Lisbeth from Austria. She's the deputy head of department for the key enabling technologies for industrial innovation. Also at a federal ministry, at the Austrian Federal Ministry for Climate, Energy, Mobility, Innovation and Technology. And she's responsible for the national research funding of digitalization and new technologies. And she's heading the Austrian delegation to Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe, right? Right. Yeah, 20 is over, yes. And then we have Adrien Laroche, who this is the first time we actually meet in person, although he recently took the interim role for the French Governmental Advisory Board representative. Sorry, I did not prepare a bio, but yeah. And following is, and I'm going to destroy his name too because it's a complicated Dutch one, Short Bot, who is the head of freight and digital transport at the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management for the Netherlands. And he has plenty of experience in the field of mobility and public management, including a master's degree, but also experience with policy making, and 8 years as a digital and innovation lead for the Dutch Road Haulage Association. So plenty of experience as far as freight and movement and mobility and logistics, really. And then online we have Nena, whose title was briefly presented. And for those who couldn't read it, she's the head of the group of new economy and blockchain technologies for the Ministry of Economics and Technology for the Slovenian Republic. And she's been heavily involved with the strategic plan for adoption of blockchain technologies, also defining the regulatory frameworks. And in 2019, she was the head of the Slovenian delegation for the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. heavily involved with technologies and blockchain. And last but certainly not least, we have Tito Vieira, who's also the newly appointed Portuguese representative, the Governmental Advisory Board. And he comes from the board of the Portuguese Agency for Administrative Modernization, so how to digitalize public services in Portugal. But he has also plenty of experience when it comes to, he was a general manager of a Governmental IT Network Management Center and director of a state electronic certification entity, and also with experience in digitalization of university, including director of the University of Porto digital program. So thank you for being here. And like I said, I want to start with Nena, and then I'll sort of go. The first question I wanted to ask you guys is, from the perspective of each of your countries and nations, what are your key priorities in terms of digital transformation of your countries, especially as it relates to data, digital sovereignty, transparent infrastructures? Nena, do you want to go first?
Yes, please. And thank you very much. And I have to say that I'm very sorry that I didn't come to Paris, but for the next time I will definitely join in person. And thank you for taking this into consideration. I have to say that Carmen from Spain, the State Secretary, was speaking about a recovery and resilience plan. Our recovery and resilience plan also put us under pressure to have a reform in this area. So we created the digital transformation strategy for Slovenia. And I have to say that we are covering technology part, we are covering supporting environment part, and also the regulatory and social part here. And I will explain a little bit about this. So the first strategic orientation is the integration of digital advanced technologies into the business processes, this digital transformation of large companies, and also with the cooperation of small and medium enterprises and innovative startups. We foresee all the advanced digital technologies which are also in Digital Europe program. So from AI to blockchain, IoT, XR, VR, and big data platforms, digital twins, and so on. After that, the second priority is strengthening the supporting environment. We know that we have at least 3 types of supporting environments. First is for the companies. This is entrepreneur supporting environment, like hubs, like consortiums, like laboratories, and so on. Then supporting environment for research and development, and also for finance. Here within this, we are really trying to push that digital sector supporting environment, because we found out that also the legacy IT companies need to transform themselves. And this would be definitely the opportunity. And the third thing, and I will explain later also about cross-border projects, but the third thing we identified is the knowledge skills, and the dynamics of introduction of knowledge and skills on digital technologies into the business processes, into the communication business to government, and also government to government. What is innovative here? I'm also national representative of, or contact point of the IPSE, this project of common European interest on data infrastructure and services, Eurocloud. And we are in the final stage of the assessment. This is one of the 3 cross-border projects. The other is for microelectronics, and the third cross-border is EBSI. You explained that I work on blockchain, and this is the point of orientation also in Slovenia. Even further, we had yesterday conference on Web3 and metaverse, connecting with the COP27. What is also important that in Slovenia we were inspired with that IPSE, so we decided to develop national hybrid cloud infrastructure with actually two services. One is digital identity for the companies, and the other is one single point of entry for all the registers that will be integrated. I became a member of Gaia-X
Nena,
initiative.
we're running a little late, so I want to give, because we have quite a lot of people.
Sorry.
I apologize for interrupting you. We'll come back to how Gaia-X, but I wanna give a bit of time because we're running a little late. Ernst, what's Germany's perspective? You know, what do you guys want to achieve in the data and digital sovereignty?
Just check if, okay, it's working. Thank you for your question. I try to keep it very short. I think the main goal is digital sovereignty. And to reach digital sovereignty, we need Gaia-X to be a success. Secondly, we need the IPCI cloud, industrial cloud, because it's an important element of digital sovereignty so that we can really be more independent from foreign companies like hyperscalers and to have a more decentralized, transparent system where we are, or companies in control of. Third, most important, speed. We have to overcome thinking only in small use cases. We have to get them connected, and this is the next goal, to scale up. We should only think of use cases, but we have to think even more how to expand them, how they can easily transfer it to others. And what does it mean? We need a cultural change, maybe the most difficult thing, because we have to cooperate, and it's not anymore silos or single company thinking, which is possible to enter a real data-driven economic time, which will definitely come and which is essential for European competitiveness.
Thank you. Lisbeth, what is the Austrian perspective?
Austrian perspective, twin transformation. We want to marry digital technologies and sustainability. So on the one hand, we see that fear of that future systems are not open, not inclusive. So you mentioned already the topic of digital sovereignty, so there's a big fear. And on the other hand, we see human influences on the climate. So oceans are becoming warmer, and ice sheets are melting. So time is really running, and we see the data service economy as one solution to that. So we see that it's very important to bring together data users, data providers, and data processors in order to build up the data spaces and use cases. And it's not only about the innovators and early adopters like you here. It's, like you said also, it's like a transformation of the system. It's like all organizations who have to cooperate in this sense. So in Austria, we always talk about data service ecosystems. So it's not only to bring data together, but also to bring up services up on this. And here we think that this can implement the climate goals and transform energy and mobility services. And we already heard, you said it, I'm repeating you, the silos is something that we want to break up. And especially in Austria, we want to make the data silos dancing the waltz together.
Nice, thank you. And before we saw the EU Pro Gigant, which is a collaboration with Germany so some of those silos are starting to break, geographical silos. Adrien, what's France's perspective on?
Yeah. Thank you. So as you said, that I'm working at the French Ministry for Economy, Finance, and Industrial and Digital Sovereignty. So it's right there in the title of Bruno Le Maire, Digital Sovereignty. And I'm also the National Coordinator for the French Cloud Acceleration Strategy. So we have a big investment plan that we called France 2030, France 2030. And we actually celebrated the 1-year anniversary today with people as diverse as French PM Elisabeth Borne, Alain Aspect, the recent French Nobel Prize in Physics, and Jean-Michel Jarre, the famous French singer. So why were Alain Aspect and Jean-Michel Jarre in the same room today with French PM Elisabeth Borne? So of course, the digital sector is one of the key focus of France 2030. And we dedicated our efforts into 5 sectors: cloud, 5G, cyber, quantum technologies, and AI. But this is the offer side. And of course, we have to bridge the offers and the users of digital technologies that are in all sectors, from culture to decarbonizing industry. And that's what the data strategy is about, allowing data transfers in an open, transparent, compliant way. And I believe that's what, but we could talk about it a bit later, that's what Gaia-X is about too.
Exactly, that's what Gaia-X is about. Short, what is the Netherlands' perspective, especially as it relates to the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure?
I will come to that soon, but I would like to express my compliments first for this summit. I think Francesco, the rest of the team, for me, this was one of the best organized and most inspiring meetings of the last 2 years. So my compliments for you and the team. That was the good news. Now, the bad news is I think the world is on fire. We all know a war in Ukraine, energy crisis, a vessel blocking the Suez Channel. If you transfer this to supply chains, the supply chains are on fire. And our logistic chains in the Netherlands, we are top 3 in the world in terms of performance in that supply chains. So we want to keep our position. And therefore, we need agile supply chains. That is key. The supply chains in the Netherlands earn 10% of the gross national product. There are more than 700,000 people working over there. 25% of the goods we all have in Europe pass the main ports in the Netherlands. So the Port of Rotterdam, Schiphol Airport, and other main ports. And I think we do about 4% of the world trade. So in combination with a lot of inefficiencies in the supply chains right now, for example, 45% of the truck driving empty on the roads, Houston, we have a challenge. So efficiency and effectiveness in the supply chain is key for us, and we have a quite easy approach on that. 3 components. 1, the 6th modality, the digital infrastructure, the basic data infrastructure, in which we call that in the Netherlands. So open, neutral, federative digital infrastructure on which companies and governments can share their data to make their processes more effective and efficient. The second part, a kickstart with a lot of interesting living labs use cases. And my challenge will be, after I hear a lot of use cases and living labs over here, to connect ours to, for example, Catena-X, the SCSN, and other interesting cases I heard from, for example, Airbus this morning. So I would love to elaborate further on that with the people involved over here. So that's the more technical and operational approach. And the last one is the cultural as well. We all know the parties in the field are not digital ready enough. So we have to raise the level of digital readiness, digital maturity, and the willingness to work data-driven. That's the key for us.
Yeah, some interesting thoughts. Carlos, are you? I can't see right now the Zoom or the WebEx, but I believe Carlos is there. Do you want to give us Portugal's perspective?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you, Gaia-X, for the invitation. It's a pleasure to hear. I'm going to focus my intervention on digital transformation on Portuguese public administration, which is for us a key priority. Right now we are implementing our digital transformation for public administration strategy that has as a vision more digital public administration with better services and better value. So we have organized that strategy in the 6 main areas: digital public services, data, reference architectures, digital skills, digital infrastructures and services, and last but not least, security and trust. Considering that we don't have time to go into details in all these areas, I will highlight some of our main priorities for each one. So, for digital public services, For us, the priority is the omnichannel on public service delivery. In fact, we want to evolve public services to be delivered in a generalized way in an omnichannel approach. Then the priority, the second priority for us is to bring that services according with the single digital gateway and the once-only principles. I mean, you want to consolidate our digital public services in the single public service portal, and we plan to create a citizen hub for public administration services. Then, to bring it possible, our priority is interoperability. In fact, we want to generalize the principle that by default, public entities need to exchange data over our common interoperability platform. This is a key priority for us. Then, based on data, we want to create the new generation of digital public services, more predictive ones and more smart services. So this is the other key priority for the Portuguese public administration. And supported by that digital transformation strategy, we plan to transform our current citizen shops, evolving from the concept that we have right now, which is based on one-stop shop, to one-stop counter. In terms of the area of reference architectures, we want to generalize our common model of design and development of digital public services throughout the whole public administration. And second one is to evolve and increment the number of building blocks for public administration entities that we have right now. Regarding the data, we have two main priorities right now. The first one is to increase open data and encourage the reuse of it. We already have a platform accessible by dados.gov.pt, and we can increase the use of it. And second one, we want to make available real-time open data to allow the new generation services that create new applications with economic value for the society. Last but not least, the security and trust. For us, it is very important to increase the digital resilience of public services and reinforce the protection of citizens' digital identity, generalizing access to public services based on a multi-factor authentication system, and ensure the privacy data controlled by citizens, of course, of their own data. In terms of the infrastructure, we are running a specific strategy to deal with the cloud thing, and right now we are concluding that the implementation of the cloud strategy for public administration. So, in the very brief way, this is the key priorities for our public administration digital services.
Thank you, Tito. And I know the AMA, the Agency for Administrative Modernization in Portugal, reports to the new Secretary of State for Digital, Mario Campolargo, who is the former Director General at the Commission, Digit, who's a strong supporter of the Gaia-X initiative. So going to kind of close this circle, Tito, since we started, you were the last, you can be the first now. So where do you see Gaia-X helping in these key priorities that the Portuguese AMA agency has?
Okay. I think the Gaia-X can help us mainly in our journey of data. As I said previously, our digital transformation strategy has data as a key topic. So I think that the Gaia-X can help us in terms of a contribution for normalization, for standardization, for data sharing, the interoperability between data spaces to normalize the way that we exchange the data, help to address the topic that my colleagues have said before, like digital sovereignty, and of course exchange experience, exchange and participate and share use case, knowledge, and so on. I think this is the key for us.
Thank you, Tito. Nena, can you comment on if, I don't know, I know she had to leave, so I don't know if
No, I'm here.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
How do you see Gaia-X providing a hand with everything that Slovenia is doing?
Actually, I see Gaia-X in two main areas. First is that we can connect Gaia-X data spaces with the first industrial deployment of IPCEI for common infrastructure and services. This would be very beneficial, and to develop data spaces together with the infrastructure and with the interconnection and within the use cases of the first industrial deployment, it can be very beneficial. The second thing is that Gaia-X can cover certain areas which are probably not covered by Eurocloud now at the moment, which means, for example, okay, we have smart mobility, but in Slovenia we have a strong consortium. You probably know that this consortium is leading also the Gaia-X data space for smart cities and communities. So we can additionally cover the areas that are not covered now by IPCEI. The third thing is that interoperability, which is very relevant, and the third thing is maybe also relevant, that we can think wider to use more technologies to make Gaia-X more capable and more fit with the converging technologies also to establish one common larger data space in Europe. So EDIC for Gaia-X would be very beneficial. I think that we can use this knowledge and this information and these cases that we have on IPCEI also for Gaia-X EDIC. To be shorter than before.
Yeah, no, thank you. I didn't want to rush you, but we have a lot of people. Yeah, no, and the connection to the IPCEI Cloud Infrastructure Service is an interesting one, because for us in Spain, it's actually driven by our brother state secretary, who is the telecom. And for me, there's very clear connections, because, you know, IPCEI sees is all about next generation cloud. And I know for sure next generation cloud will be federated. And the only way to really have a trustworthy federation of cloud is by understanding identities and identity access managers. And that's the sort of the meat of Gaia-X and what Roland presented and Pierre presented yesterday. Sjoerd, from the perspective of the Netherlands, how are you planning on using Gaia-X?
Mainly it concentrates on a couple of key elements, I would say. First of all, bring down the complexity. In terms of semantics, not only the technical semantics in the machinery, but also the vocabulary. Everybody is naming the components and the processes in a slightly different way, and there is a lot of fog. What is it actually? So bring down the complexity. Toolkits, cookbooks, make it practical and set a stepping stone how to kickstart such a data space. Now, second, align the architecture and the infrastructure. So bring alignment on what do you need to do in terms of technicalities. Start small, fail fast, and then let it grow. That would be my approach as well. And look outside. Empower the regional hubs. Look outside. Where are the partners that have to implement, that have to do it, the people with the skin in the game? So come out of the regional hubs and look and go to the people who actually have to bring this down. That would be another main point, I think. Organize some onboarding support. So help the people actually doing it and bring it to first proof of concepts, and then further to development and implementation. And then let it grow. That would be, I think that's the core for me.
Thank you, thank you. Adrien from France.
As I was saying, it's good to develop new innovative technologies, but we want that each sector of the economy, from the industry to culture to agriculture, sees these opportunities, and that's where we need Gaia-X first to help, as you were saying, all firms navigate through the jungle of the cloud offers, and that's what is about the Gaia-X Trust Framework, Gaia-X Policy Rules and Labels, and a huge work has already been done regarding this part. And the second part is we want industries and firms to share data, and that's where Gaia also is a huge help with establishing, so to speak, a gold standard for data spaces. So that's the two main objectives of Gaia, and that's why we care so much about Gaia-X.
Thank you. Austria?
Yes, I think that Gaia-X brings a lot of drive into the topic of data service ecosystems and raise a lot of awareness, which is very important, so that not only you, as I call you, the innovators and early adopters, but every organization and SME in Europe especially, is aware that to exchange data can have an added value, when we do it in a trustworthy way, of course, on the one hand. And I think also every organization, in order to use Gaia-X, should be able to handle the data, to have a kind of data management. And I think that the discussion on Gaia-X and all the preparations in Gaia-X, they also lead all the companies and SMEs and large enterprises in Europe towards data management and handling data. And I'm very proud that also the Gaia-X Hub in Austria is dealing with these topics, because the Gaia-X Hub Austria is very much committed to support efforts on regulatory and technical foundations, and also tries to draw attention to real business cases and to build up capacity. I think this is very important. So Gaia-X for us is a cornerstone for initiatives, and we need a European-wide coordination. And I think this is how we bring digitalization forward in Europe.
Thank you. And finally from this side, but certainly not least, Ernst, who's representing the very large German industrial ecosystem.
Yeah, that was a starting point. And Francesco, thank you, to you all. I think a world without Gaia-X is simply unthinkable anymore. And it's now 3 years about that we created this idea, and now it's expanded, and we have a great network, and I see that people believe in the innovation now, which is possible by using data in a different way. When we started with Industry 4.0, we always talked about connected industry, but in reality it was only smart industries, the smart factories. But to connect them and even to do more, this was the most difficult part. And without Gaia-X, sorry, we wouldn't have entered this phase, definitely, and that's why we are extremely committed to Gaia-X. Secondly, it was mentioned, the IPCI industrial cloud or cloud infrastructure and services. I think it would have never been possible without the Gaia-X project even to create such an idea like an IPCI on cloud in Europe, yeah? And we are so happy that we used really the small window of time to get the financing more or less from the European recovery plan. So I think only to mention this is so great, and we believe in the innovation, we have great networks, and we have so many ideas, and I think we will be able, starting from next year, really to harvest what we have done so far. Thank you very much to all of you. It's not only one person or only one organization. I believe in the great decentralized network of decentralized ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernst. And let me also give a very short description of what we do in the Governmental Advisory Board, because I always say that in an ideal world, the Governmental Advisory Board should not even have to exist, right? Because so the ASBL produces the specifications, you know, it gathers the requirements. Really, it's meant to be, it needs to be the voice of the market, you know. Hear what the different people are saying and find the consensus and come up with these specifications and products that people develop and use to really, and different people on the panel mentioned it, to have that market reach, that impact, you know. But the reality is that this is complex. You know, federated ecosystems are difficult, you know, and especially when you involve very different priorities and different perspectives, it's difficult. So the role of the Governmental Advisory Board is to try to provide a bridge, you know, and a hand to connect, you know, the strategic priorities of the countries, you know, with the purpose of the association, but also to help the local hubs, the regional hubs. And I believe now in the agenda next is the you know, different people from the hubs, because, you know, we have different states of maturity, different hubs have different sizes and projects, and so really the idea is to be able to ensure that those hubs have the ability and are coordinated with the national different member states' priorities, so that, you know, the Gaia-X can come out of this design phase. Of course, it has to be properly designed to be useful, but also have capillarity, you know, impact on the market, you know, and I mentioned that Gaia-X needs to be the voice of the industry and of the market, because that's really where it makes an impact as a European ecosystem. So that's what, you know, the Governmental Advisory Board is. You know, ideally, in an ideal world, everything works perfectly and everything understands it, but the reality is in federated ecosystems, this is complicated. And so how do you do that? Well, that's where we have the advisory board, where we try to smoothen out aspects and really support the national hubs, you know. And the way we see it is we don't want to push, or at least I don't believe the idea is to push a top-down cascade of government-imposed objectives to the hubs, because that doesn't represent the voice of the industry. That's not sustainable. So what do we want to do? Provide a level of, this is what each country wants to do, and give a guidance to the local hubs that then are able to, you know, grassroots build that thing, because that's what your industrial players are saying. This is what I need, I believe in it, and I'm going to use the Gaia-X architecture, the trust framework, and build really in Spain we call it reindustrialization. So, you know, you're digitalizing and you're really preparing yourself for the future of industry, which is, well, not just economical, it's vital to European societies as a whole. So thank you for that. I wanted to have Francesco to also provide his view on these very important aspects.
Yeah, if I can use this, let me be your host and your pupil. I've been taking notes, so I wanted to learn. So Alberto, Ernst, Lisbeth, Adrian, Atayan, Shirt, Nena, and Tito. And a big thank to Carme, who managed to attend. I know she struggled and she made her best to be there. So a big thank you, first of all. As I said, I've been listening, and I took some notes I wanted to summarize. So basically, we've been listening to what the priorities are for our governments. We're talking about digital sovereignty. Now, let me tell you one thing. I believe digital sovereignty that we are now elaborating, we discussed there is no single definition, but we are trying to give it a clear definition, is going to be one of the next most important human rights. I'm not joking, because I believe anything depends, our lives will already depend from digital platforms. So that's definitely one of the priorities. Speed, start small, grow bold, fail fast. We need to be fast. We cannot keep talking about things. And we've been listening these days, and we are trying to make it happen. Cooperate and remove silos. I really like this. We have a heritage of fragmentation in Europe, let's be honest. It's time to remove silos and cooperate, collaborate, federate. Multinational collaborations, multinational projects. It's no more the time of German projects versus Dutch projects. We need to have multinational projects, and this is what we're trying to enable at Gaia-X. The world is on fire, yeah. So it's time to focus on the highest priority. Do we believe energy dependency is the biggest dependency we have? Well, possibly yes, but I believe digital dependencies is going to be even more important. And I like the Jean-Michel Jarre involvement. I'd like to be, I mean, if you are planning to involve any musician, you have to remember my second life as a keyboard player. You know, I would be interested to be part of that. But that's a side of it. So I wanted to convey 4 messages in this panel. I hope we managed. So one, what is the role of Gaia-X within the European member state data strategy? And I thank you very much, because you were very bright and clear, and I think we all understand that we can help you. And that's what we want to make sure is the case. And then I wanted to make sure that you understand how we support the governments. And actually, it's a little bit complicated like anything in Gaia-X, but think about this scheme. The Gaia-X Central Association constitute hubs. One of the things you have to know that when we constitute a new hub, we make sure there is a local government support. It's one of the few pre-requirements, because otherwise there is no impact in that country. And then those local governments, they allocate the recovery funds, the Horizon, the whatever Digital Europe program, any sort of funding or even private public investments to implement relevant projects. And last but not least, the role of the Governmental Advisory Board, which is an advisory board, is not an executive board. So we are very pleased to have the opportunity to sit regularly twice a year with Alberto, who is the chairman, and the representatives of our 15 hubs, to listen to them and to be told and advised on where to go, adjust, and also listen and understand each other, how to decline in the best way all the incredible possibilities. We have a unique opportunity of investments. The money is not the problem now, but how to do that in an effective way and leveraging as much as possible on initiatives like Gaia-X. So I thank you very much for this panel. That was really instructive for me, and you were very clear. So be my guest again, and look forward to meet you on the road of the next years. Thank you very much.
And thank you to all the panelists.
Thank you.